most boring and standard comp, they can make it incredibly oppressive. As we will also have Aurora banned here for round 2. Round 3 still to be decided.
You take a look at these first 2 bans from Blue side, very DK focused. You take away the Vi from Lucid, you take away the LeBlanc from Showmaker, a couple you mentioned, and the Smolder, which is something I mentioned at the beginning of the show. I think that's definitely something that you have to give credit for on the side of D plus Gia, but basically any team, as everybody's really jumping on the Smolder hype train nowadays.
Yeah. The Rumble's taken away early here in the second slot for D+, so it affords them an extra ban here. We'll see what comes through first, and they will opt to take that Nasus away. And I don't think Garen is first pickable, so I wouldn't worry about that. It's the Maokai that will go over to Canyon here. Empowers so many different picks in the meta. He's just so incredibly strong right now for objective control. Now in terms of 80 carries, you know, a lot's open here. Zeri's so flexible, aiming so fantastic at it in the late game. Ashe, something that we haven't really liked aiming on as much. I think a lot of our red side teams slam the Ashe down here, but I feel like D+ do not. Big part of the reason why D+, or rather GENG, don't ban it. They're just going to go straight for the Misfortune, and maybe they'll even pick up the Rel with this early.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really ban it in the first rotation. Moham is on the record as saying it's not just about Rel. Like, I can play other picks. It just feels like Rel was really good in those moments. I think the Ivern is something you really have to look at. Lilia's also been a very common answer to the Maokai in the jungle, so kind of deciding between those two. And then at the very end, just a little flash of the Lee Sin saying, hey, maybe you'll see this a little bit later on in this series.
Pays has loved playing the Ziggs, and Ziggs Tristana is, I mean, yes, it feels a little bit old because Tristana has been less relevant recently, and this was more common way, way earlier in the season, but it is just so much turret destruction, so much gold gain. If you get even a little bit of an edge, Genji's macro is so good that they will just take those plates away, take those turrets off the map.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Wolf. Maokai is so good at enabling other picks. I feel like it is especially strong with Ziggs. And that is just an incredibly strong 1-2 from the side of GENG.
Aurel gets locked in here. Great combo for the bullet time. What's also great with Ziggs is Leona, and I think that will probably be taken away here for sure by D+ Kia, because it's very strong also into the Misfortune. Down that goes, so unsurprising here. Chovy wanted to be able to have the Tristana in this composition. And as boring as it may seem to play this Tristana, this comp is just so incredibly oppressive by GENG. So it is very, very scary just looking at those 3 champions in their, you know, isolation. See the Yasuo taken away here now. Very common right now in this meta.
Yeah, very wombo combo-y alongside the Rel.
Yeah.
You know, you can set up extra damage for your MF, extra damage for the Lilia. Feels like it would have gone very well with what they already have on the side of DK, so a nice target ban there. What else are we
Alistair, perhaps, if you're really worried about the counter to the Rel. It certainly didn't work out for BNK, but it's considered the strongest counter to Rel right now, so it does get removed. I think this is a wise ban. And I wonder what Lehends is going to turn to, actually, with this Ziggs here. So not a lot of supports you can play that can punish a Rel with the Ziggs. And the last ban here might just be, once again, towards the mid lane. Corki, still a strong option here for the side of D+. Maybe that's where they go. Will be a Mordekaiser ban instead.
Does feel a little bit out of left field. We don't see a lot of Mordekaiser bans, but it's certainly something that is very strong at avoiding dives and also pulling, you know, the jungler out of a team fight or an 80 carry or something like a Ziggs, right? If you get Mordekaiser ulted by or as Ziggs, you just kind of lose and die. There's that Corki we're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to come through here. Maybe they felt comfortable into the Corki, they just wanted him to pick it. Mordekaiser feels so incredibly weak into Maokai as well, so a bit of a puzzling pick there. Can be great at stopping, you know, turret takes though. As it will just once again be Keen Sante, it looks like, here in the top lane. So we'll give Kingen the opportunity to play something like a Gnar into this if he wants to. We'll have counter pick. A little bit of extra hover time, but it does get locked in. And this has been one of the other smaller teched-in counters to both the Leona and the Rel in the Poppy. Love to see it. Now, Kingen has played a bit of Olaf in the past. We saw Zayas play this against KT Rolster to great success. very strong when you have a lot of heals for it. This is not a Senna composition. The Senna's been completely absent from this draft.
Yeah.
And he's also been known to play this from time to time.
I mean, it can wombo, and it can combo, and it's pretty good into Casante. There it is. Malphite for game 1 is the choice for Kingin. And, you know, you were talking about things that aren't great into the Maokai. Well, you don't really have to worry about Maokai if you're Malphite. You just press your R button, you're unstoppable.
You're unstoppable. You go straight through that Nature's Grasp and get on top of whatever target you want. But the Tristana can get away from that type of engage. Ziggs is going to be playing from far away, so it's hard to actually get on top of him and punish him. So while I do like this Malphite in terms of the lane matchup and maybe blowing up that single target, I think it's more often than not, like you were kind of alluding to, going to be a follow-up to the Rel engage, where the Rel sets you up to guarantee you get a multi-man knockup instead of that assassination Malphite ult, where we've seen that so many times onto 80 carries that are mobile, especially after Gale Force was removed. Kill that Aphelios, right, and get on top of him, knock him up, and destroy him. This is not that kind of meta, but when you have a Rel to set up, and when it's Moham's Rel, he's 7-1 on this pick since he became D+'s mainstay support. I think you can trust that those engages are going to be good.
It's Kana.
An XD+ player himself.
Yeah. Looks like his second time ever coming down to watch the games, I believe that said there.
Yeah.
Since birth. Is the way he said it. But look at this comp for GENG. Looks very comprehensive. Tons of disengage. I mean, Ziggs, Poppy, Maokai. How are you going to get onto anything? Whereas on the side of D+Kia, you know, they have some range, but they also have ways to try to get over all of that disengage. We'll see if it works out for them as we hop into the rift for game number 1.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Game number 1 in this best of 5 between GENG and D+Kia. There have been very big best of 5s between these two. The baldless incident, which Chronicler was talking about during our pre-show, where Atlas was like, there's no way they lose, I'll shave my head, and then they lost. And also the fantastic quarters at Worlds, which was incredible in 2022 with, I believe it was the Kane that was played, right, by Canyon. Just an insane best of 5. It always feels like these two make for really fun best of 5. So we could be in for something really awesome, or maybe GENG's just that good. Let's see what happens, though, as Kingin rather is in a lot of trouble, has to flash, and is also getting invaded in their jungle, RDK.
Yeah, I mean, Malphite's a very immobile top laner. At level 1, there's nothing he can really do to get out of those types of exchanges. Can toss out a Q and get a slow, but ultimately when there's no cover for him and he gets caught like that, he will be in trouble, as Pays will be lane swapping as well into this top lane to avoid that really annoying matchup into the Malphite. This will send Kingin straight down to the bottom lane. Lane's going to be continuing to roam here as well as Moham because they know what's up.
Yeah, and, you know, if this were a different patch where that top turret was a little bit weaker, the Ziggs would love to be alone and get some alone time, and you would feel great about this. But I would assume that eventually they do go back down there. Here's Kingin, just saying hello, getting some XP.
Support's just going mid a lot right now when we do have these types of lane swaps. And we see Canyon also, because of that topside control, is going to take the Krugs away. So already starting to get involved in the enemy jungle. Moham and Lucid will start to do the same here on these Raptors, which can be cleared very quickly by Lilia. So nice target here. Should be able to take that red buff away as well, as now Canyon's gone back to his normal clear. Let's see how much damage Pays can get done, because yes, there is turret protection here for plates on the top side, but it is Ziggs, and with his passive, he is going to do a lot of extra damage. There's a huge wave as well. Just keep clearing these red side minions and then just absolutely crush that turret. I still think the bottom side will get a bit of an edge here, especially with the numbers advantage they have down there, but Pays should still be able to get a lot of value here before he goes back to the bottom lane. But advantage is D+, as you alluded to. Lucid also over here taking these Krugs away now.
Yeah, Lahan's just trying to get down some wards, and maybe if they let him, he can get some XP. Very doubtful that they do. Already 2 turret plates going down. Here comes the TP from the Ziggs. into the bottom lane, so they don't really get too much damage done to the top side. I'd love to see if they even got a plate. Maybe they got one. There was a massive wave up there.
I think they probably got one. It's covered by the Malphite right now, but I would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
One does go down. And the Ziggs teleport's not punishable. That's one of the things that you can afford with the Ziggs is you go TP. They can't punish because there's a Poppy there. So if you try to engage, she just steadfast presences, and the turret damage at this point in the game is just so high. Lilia can't offer any additional CC, also very squishy. So it's a good timing to come down there and TP. And now that Aiming has taken that opportunity to back, we'll see if Pays can start putting some more plate pressure down here onto the bottom side. Aiming bought a cull as well with that back, so just cashing in on the fact that this is going to be probably a very quiet lane for him. Not going to have a ton of kill pressure here. Just wants to hit those spikes a little bit faster.
Yeah. Very excited to see Jovi back on Tristana. He was really good at, well, I shouldn't say was. He is very good at canceling pretty much any CC in the game, including Poppy's ult. He can just hop out of that, apparently. He is one of our mid laners that has really said, yeah, the Tristana nerfs happened. I do not care at all. I will just play this if it makes sense every single game. And he really has bought into that and has made this champ still look incredibly busted.
Yeah, and it's the macro of GENG that really empowers him to make those types of plays. So we'll see Pays come over here and add some poke damage in. Lands threatening, so they will end up getting a lot of control here. Canyon looking to do this dragon potentially on start. And, I mean, they have a lot of prio, obviously. And Lilia is backing. They were able to identify that, or should be able to. They know the top side of this jungle has been cleared, or the blue side of top jungle has been cleared, so they will get away with this. This is a really nice pressure here from GENG. These are small things, right? They're a little bit behind on gold right now, but it's relatively negligible in the grand scheme of things. They get this first objective so quickly that now they can contest for the top side objective as well.
Yeah. Ocean Drake early, always going to help out. Also feels good because now you know there's no Ocean Soul in the game.
Yeah.
It is Infernal up next. And I feel like the Ocean Drake mostly going to help out Keen, I feel like, in this matchup against the Malphite.
Every time he gets hit by one of those wagon wheels, just walk it off, get that health back. Obviously he has a large amount of health, so will recover a lot. Lucid is on the top side of the jungle right now, trying to clear some vision, but won't be able to make a play here top side. Nothing Lehens could do about him either, but get some information here. And mid prio, kind of dead even right now. So faster rotation from Moham. Aiming is just sticking bottom lane. They don't know where Pays is. They know he doesn't have a teleport, obviously, but he is walking up to contest Grubs.
Yeah.
And GENG want to get everything. They want to get both sides of this.
Yeah, I mean, they got that Drake, as you mentioned, with the Grubs. So important for their comp as Lucid in a bit of trouble. He's going to have to flash this wall, but into the wall he goes, and all out it over the wall as well. The Ignite comes in, Lucid flashes for no reason, goes down, and GENG will get first blood, 2 Grubs, and now Pays is up in the top lane.
Yeah, Pays is just going to push Kingen out of this lane. There's no reason for Kingen to ult into Pays. They have to ult here now.
Should be able to force it. There's the ult, but now Lehens, he doesn't have flash, but he's trying to get in range. He's a level 3 Poppy, and he just soloed a level 6 Malphite. I mean, obviously Kingen was very low, but man, Kingen not respecting and not flashing away from that one.
Yeah, I feel like could have definitely flashed earlier. Absolutely could have ulted earlier. And just wanted to hold those tools. As Chovy should be able to get out of here.
Yeah.
Talked about his buffers earlier. And now, 2 Grubs to a Ziggs. Yes, turret plate protection top side, but again, it's going to feel so helpful. Ideally, would have liked 3 out of this one, but if you get the next Grub fight to go your way, is going to be massive. Aiming didn't show up to the last fight. As soon as they scouted that there was going to be a heavy contest, he stopped his back. You can see on the minimap, and does push forward, but only gets 1 plate out of the exchange. And Lucid here pushed into the wall, then all-outed through it before he could flash. If he flashes earlier and avoids the all-out, he's probably fine there, but then flashes during the Ignite and dies anyways. And then Pays just layers so much damage here onto Kingen. Great satchel. Kingen slowed as well. And then Lehens comes over here, and he drops the ward. He's aware of it.
He sees him the whole way.
Could have just flashed here, but waits too long.
Yeah, you got to flash right there.
Down he goes.
Instead, just dies, Giga Chad, I guess.
But he has flash still, Valdez, so that's, you know, that's the...
Yeah. I mean, You know, he'll have it for the next fight if they do fight. And if he holds on to his flash and says, well, I gave a kill to Poppy, that doesn't really matter, but I can make a big difference in the next fight with flash ults, maybe. You know, maybe we can say, okay, worth. All right, Kingen, but, you know, we'll have to see that fight actually happen.
No, there's two amazing scenarios here for GENG on this next Dragon. Obviously, picking up the Infernal itself will be a huge boon stats-wise for their composition, especially with the grubs they've already picked up. But if it goes from this Infernal to Hex Tech, it's like actually so insanely strong for them. If it goes to Mountain, also very strong for them. They have a Poppy, they have a Cassante. Everything right now going GENG's way. And Aiming's going to get chunked out of the lane.
Something you can do on Ziggs against immobile AD carries. Generally, it happens later on in the game, but you can do it just now just to push him out of lane, and Aiming's just going to throw his ult in just to counter that, essentially. But generally, MF won't be able to do much to avoid that damage, especially as the game comes along.
Yeah, we'll be able to continue to ult him the beginning of fights and just say, well, now you can't really auto anybody. You can't set up for a bullet time because we will just kill you. Your health is too low. And the ult is used for Aiming to try to prevent any plate takes. And so he was successful at that. Still sitting at half health. This game is, you know, it feels like on one hand it's still relatively early, still relatively even. But on the other hand, GENG have gotten some really big advantages for their comp so early. Yeah. And the big question is, can they get the second Dragon? Because if they do, they have so many ways that that goes extremely well for them. If it's a Chemtech Soul or a Cloud, you know, it's not the end of the world, but half of the Drakes they could get are just so insanely good for them. So chances are pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like the Cloud as well, you know, it's not amazing for their comp, but also just if they're able to stack a couple of Cloud Drakes, like they already have so much disengage, like how do you get on anyone as DK? As we have an all-out on the top side, Kingen, this is supposed to be a counter matchup, but well, at least he's got flash and he has his ult. Here comes him out, Kyle. There's the flash, but now Lehens is coming on in. He's getting revenge. Well, not revenge, but he's looking to double up, and he's not able to do so. Kingen does get away, but again, this turret is just free. Yep.
We'll be able to satchel it in just a moment. Get the zoom.
And now.
Bam. 450 in his pockets. Down here with Demolish, they will be able to get a turret in exchange, and they're getting the Dragon. So that is pretty significant here, but Ziggs getting accelerated is always what GENG want. And they just stack up the gold, right? Canyon's also going to have grub control because they went for the Dragon. I feel like 5 grubs for a Tristana for a Ziggs is actually more valuable than the solo Drake.
Yeah.
Lehens is going to come over here.
I absolutely agree. I feel like this is a consolation prize, which is really weird to say about one Infernal Drake, but especially in the current situation, like at least they get one Drake. It is Mountain Soul, which is going to be huge, I would say, for both sides. We'll see who can get more of those Drakes and who eventually gets the Soul, if it even spawns.
Yeah, I mean, Valdez is dooming early, but
I don't know, this just early game just looks so one-sided at the moment.
It's just such a great decision to make that topside play. Go for the turret, go for grubs. That's way more valuable to you than that solo Drake. And it could have been Chemtech Soul, and then you'd be sitting on 2 Dragons going, ah, we could have had some more Ziggs money. We could have had way more power in our Tristana Ziggs side laning. And it's just the right call here for GENG. It kind of all starts off with Keen having a nice all-out. They have Lehens up there. And everything this team does is just so decisive. There's never a moment where you go, well, that turned out really well for GENG. It was planned from the beginning. It was planned 3 minutes ago, every rotation.
Yeah. Really does feel like, you know, starting with the draft, GENG having the higher seed, they get blue side pick for the first game. I don't think that DK are going to take too many risks in game number 1. Yes, they have the Malphite, but I feel like that's all right, especially given we've seen it before into the Cassante. But I do wonder if they will try to get a little bit more funky as the series goes along, especially if this first game just ends up being kind of a straightforward win from GENG. But we're not there yet.
No, not yet.
It's not too much action, so.
D+'s comp comes online, not in these early skirmishes, but when we actually have 5v5 fights and they can wombo and combo, as you said, with this Malphite, with the Rel, with the bullet time. There is no way to deny the damage from the Misfortune if that actually comes to pass. You know, they don't have a Leona, they don't have a Wind Wall, they don't have a Braum. So if the combo hits 3 people, even 2 people, and Aiming gets a big ultimate off, the fight could just end there for D+. There's just so many ways to mitigate that, to peel against that. for the side of GENG. That's what makes you most concerned. I feel like we shouldn't count our chickens before they're hatched here because D+ have such an explosive set of champions when we get to a 5v5. If Moham can pull the trigger, when he's got that flash up, always be wary of how hard he can engage in some of these upcoming fights. Again, we're still a ways away from those because GENG have so much map control and a Tristana and a Ziggs. But I feel like they've got another fight or two in them before we start to really start writing the obituary.
Yeah. Chovy just looking pretty comfortable in this 1v1. Yeah, this is going to actually be pretty important, especially as we're at the very end of the plates being up. Chovy trying to get one more. I don't think he's going to be able to, but would be nice. Still able to do a nice chunk of damage to Showmaker. Also is a level up at this point in time. I'd imagine Showmaker should be pretty close.
Yeah, no doubt. Looks like Showmaker's going to back here, and Chovy holds his, expecting that, or rather, Showmaker backs. Chovy thought he was backing, and he's like, and then decides not to back. Thought maybe he was going to go for some additional pressure on that turret, but there's no plates as they fall off here, so decides to ultimately push another wave and back off. TP to the top side, and they're going for Herald. Ziggs plus Herald plus Tristana plus 5 grubs is a problem that D+ need to somehow solve, and King has TP.
They're not solving it. It doesn't look like they're really in position to solve it at all. I mean, Moham's just zoned away. The Rift Herald's gone. So they elect to choose option C, which is to, well, do nothing about it.
None of the above.
Yeah, and GENG will say, okay, thank you very much. We'll take that objective, and we'll use that with the Ziggs and the Tristana.
I mean, consider Lehens is level 6. Moham is trying to get over there, get some information. He's pushed away. There's so many ways to warp team fights here as GENG. Bomb aiming with a Ziggs ult. Okay, that's probably a pretty good way to win the team fight straight away. You Poppy ult, Keeper's Verdict 2 players away, or the jungler away. Okay, you don't get your combo. You don't actually get the setup. If any piece of this combo gets knocked away, it just doesn't work as well. GENG just have this amazing comp that feels both standard but also so strong into what D+ have that D+ just don't feel like they can contest this Herald. But without contesting it, it's going to come at a heavy price, and that is going to be the mid turret almost certainly going down as a result of this. Can just drop that and the satchel down, and it will just disappear.
Yeah. Chovy going to get to work clearing out this wave right before the dragon spawns. Probably going to back and look to join with the team for this first Mountain Drake. DK is trying to set up for it as well. They'll let the Rift Herald go, but they're not going to let the first Mountain Drake go. As you mentioned, that Rift Herald's still in the pockets. Probably going to look to use that in mid, I would imagine. Yeah,
I think they're just going to look to drop that right before the dragon fight here. The timing is perfect for Canyon to toss this through once Pace clears this wave. 10 seconds still on this dragon. They have just enough time. Keen has TP, so he will be able to join at a moment's notice. Showmaker can match that. As fighting for vision is what they gained by giving up that Herald. This is the first opportunity for that combo fight for D+, and it needs to be big if they're going to come back in this game.
Canyon going to avoid the stun and hold on to his flash for now. Feels like GENG's comp, the one thing that maybe it doesn't do amazingly is like hard engage, right? But there is going to be a lot of hard engage from the side of DK that they will look to peel from, and they do that excellently. But it will kind of rely on GENG not getting chunked out too much.
Canyon's got his passive, heals up a little bit here. We'll drop the Herald on top of Raptors. That will eventually get here to the mid lane. There's the TP from Showmaker. Try to match and handle this. Yeah. Also, Kingen returning to the bottom lane, picked up Merc Treads. I mean, this fight is everything for D+. They have no control.
So, Chovy, wait. He accidentally hit the wall. He pops out right in front of Showmaker. Now he's in a really awkward spot. Pays is going to flash that ult. That is huge that he avoids that knockup. And now Kingen so far ahead of his team, and nobody can join him as the MF ult hits pretty much nothing except Keen. Down will go the top laner. Aiming, though, is going to get that kill onto Lehens, but it's only Lehens. In goes Canyon. He's alone as well. And now DK are turning this fight around. Canyon super low. They want to get that kill onto him as the Phosphorus Bomb barely going to miss. And Chovy does deny the missile, but that's a one-team fight for DK and maybe a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, Aiming did so much in that fight, and it was pretty split for GENG. Sure, Pace gets the flash, doesn't get hit by the Malphite ultimate. Malphite's fairly tanky. Lehens is caught, punished there, trying to set up the ultimate, and then Chovy also not able to maximize value here as Pace may look for a steal. Pretty hard to do so.
I mean, as Ziggs, we'll see. He doesn't have his ult, so that's, if he had his ult, maybe. But yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a pretty clean fight here for D+. You know, at the outset, Canyon, right, he got healed back up. This is a fantastic flash from Hayes. And then, yeah, Kingen is getting mauled. But look at how split everything else is. Like, sleep on to Lehens, caught by the bullet time. Keen eats a ton of damage in trade. And then aiming, it just has so much protection. Chovy goes up here on his first jump as Showmaker rips through the back line, which in this case is just a very, very low health Cassante. And Chovy's just never able to get a reset here on his rocket jump, so he can't actually offer any damage back. And the Misfortune ends up coming up big. Now has the LDR second item online. I think a fantastic item choice considering the composition and the build here from Canyon. And, you know, Misfortune, we consider her to be kind of just an ult button a lot of the time in team fights, but with double ups and with her passive, you hit multiple targets, you actually do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely do. That fight was very close. DK did come out ahead. They got that first dragon. It does look like GENG, though, continuing with the pressure. They get that mid-tier 1. Keen also getting to work on the bot tier 1. So they're going to have all tier 1 turrets taken down early on. The 5 grubs really helping out with that and their composition, which we've mentioned many times. And so GENG will maintain a gold lead, but could mean good things, especially for DK, if, you know, maybe they can gain some confidence. They say, hey, we can fight into this. There are ways to deal with this.
I mean, the fact that they won a team fight like that they dictated the pace of, you know, pushing Canyon down to low health, splitting Chovy off. I mean, Chovy kind of split himself off with some of that Rift Arrow play we saw there, but he wasn't able to make the impact he would normally have on Tristan in that moment. Gives you hope that even without that perfect wombo combo, it's still winnable. Even when the Ziggs flashes your Malphite engage and Kingen is basically worthless in turn, he's just a damage sponge, you can still win that team fight. Makes you feel like, it gives you confidence that this D+ comp can win even when the ideal conditions are not met. And if they are met, you know, maybe there's a real fighting chance for them in this game. Because the gold lead is only sub 2,000 here. And that Corki hasn't hit the 2-item spike just yet, stacking that tier right now. Chovy, on the other hand, has his Flicker Blade online. Ziggs sitting on the Seraphs right now, which I know might make a few people unhappy, but does also tech in the Oblivion Orb.
I think it makes sense into this comp. There's just so much wombo combo. If you get caught by that, you want that extra shield, but Kingen just going to ult away, and now this Maokai ultimate getting huge value. Moham trying to crash down away from the team, but here comes Chovy and the rest of them. GENG on the chase, and with the Cassante leading the charge, they don't really have a way to get away. Canyon gonna lock down a kill. Lucid super low, as he's gonna get assassinated by Cassante as well. And so it is a 2-for-1. Canyon will go down, as he did go slightly too far forward, eats a bullet time to the face.
Went a lot better, I think, for D+ than I expected after they did overextend there to try to push onto that turret. No success found there. It's not even low at all, so a bit overzealous to try to look for that one. And it's just Maokai saying, I ult you, you're all not going to get out of here. And I mean, look at this turret, it's at full health. There's hard committing here. Because they have the siege of this Malphite, I guess they thought, okay, we can engage on them if they try to defend, but instead it's just a Maokai ult, which forces Malphite to ult in return. Boom! I think for a half second was like, do I actually re-engage on this team? Like, they're on top of me, I'm fairly tanky. Maybe I get a Magnet Storm and a bullet time combo. Does not do it, but it's actually Lucid who sets up the sleep here, and then the Maokai of Canyon goes down, so they trade one back in that retreat. Still a huge win for GENG, though, and no damage really done to the turret, but yeah, it was just a decision that I can't really fully understand from D+. Wanted to just not sit back and be passive in this moment between objectives, but really just got hard punished.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a second Mountain Drake fight on the cards here. But again, that early damage done to all the structures just gives GENG so much map control, especially in the mid lane, which is the most important lane around this dragon, oftentimes in pro. And they've still got the Ziggs, which is fantastic as pushing, so they just leave Pays there, they push that in, and they look to get presence around the dragon. So it will be a bit more difficult for DK, I'd say, to enter into this area of the map this time around.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets hard to set up those engages when you don't have vision, when the hens could just shove you into the wall or ult you out of the fight if you don't know where he is, when they have that banana brush control. I want to say almost that I feel like D+ have to give this up because they just don't have any setup right now, nor do they have vision. Like, look at where Keen is coming from on flank.
Moham, he doesn't know. He's getting engaged on, and now it is a rel, so it looks like GENG are not going to overcommit to that. fears of a counter engage, but bit of damage done to Moham already as they do look to set up here. You can see the vision around the Dragon is pretty much non-existent. There's no flank wards, nothing for Kingin. And if they see the Malphite just running straight at them, they know how to deal with that. So yeah, DK just not really going to be able to get in on this Dragon. So that first one, the first Mountain Drake will go over towards GENG.
Look at Canyon's positioning.
Yep, he's got a very nice angle on this one. He is going to throw in the ult. They try to get on top of Toby, who is not quite able to buffer that one. The sleeve coming down, and Moham's totally going to miss on the left side, though. Down, though, will go Toby. It is a trade that DK will enjoy. And now they're just looking for Canyon, who is also just kind of on the run, doesn't have a way to get out of this one. Is able to slow up a couple of guys, actually, with saplings, and is incredibly fast. So he's just going to run away from them.
He's phase rush Maokai, so we'll be able to get out of there pretty quickly. Yeah, definitely could have been a lot worse there for D+. Canyon was set up for the ultimate there, but they did not expect that turn onto Chovy from Kingin. So when you look at this, I was like, oh man, like D+, did we not learn from last time? But they're tracking Canyon here. And as soon as this ult goes down, Kingin just instantly flash ults Chovy, giving him no time to react. He's then slept, and there's nothing he can do to get out. Tries to flash up, but now he's also down flash. End up losing Moham because he was trying to peel on the left side there. It wasn't ideal. You mentioned it's kind of a big whiff there. But ultimately did at least keep GENG somewhat honest. Bit disjointed there from D+, but what a snap call from Kingin. And what looked like otherwise without that play, a completely disastrous fight for D+, as they once again overextended to the mid-turret.
Yeah, could have been, but instead, DK maintaining pretty much parity with GENG. I mean, yes, they're down 2,000 gold, but at the end of the day,
there's a lot of standing gold on the map.
They've got this really fed Corki. They've got Aiming, who is the Gold King, I'd imagine, at this point in the game. Not too surprising, considering he is literally the Gold King. And, I mean, they've got a couple of carries, and they have fantastic setup for them. So at the end of the day, if GENG don't have the perfect setup, there's still a lot of ways for DK to win these fights, as they have showcased. We'll see if they can continue to make things interesting here in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think this game is 100% winnable for them. They still haven't even had that good combo. I think the biggest challenge is getting map control, getting vision control. They need to win some sort of trade up, not just a 1-for-2 or a 1-for-1 or some exit kills on a Dragon. They need to win one decisive fight that lets them go get deep vision into the jungle. Then their comp can be both strong in setting up combos, but also oppressive. And that's why they've committed so heavily to this mid-turret, because theirs is down. And now TP coming through.
And there's a flank, and they're just kind of being squashed, aiming in a very awkward spot. As nice ult from Moham just to collapse this fight. But now the Ziggs ult comes in on top of Aiming. He's just on the run. Kingin also has to ult away. Meanwhile, Moham's just dead once again on the left side, trying to just peel for the team. And he does that, but he also dies.
Yeah, 3 for 3 on D+, trying to get the mid-turret and getting punished. At least the second time they were able to turn it into a successful turn with Kingin, but this time no such luck. They want that mid-turret down so desperately because that can allow them to set up for some aggressive picks, but now TP coming through from Keen, and they are starting up this Baron. Lucid has Flash, but I mean, this is looking pretty desperate. Remember, Kingin doesn't have Flash, doesn't have ult.
They just don't have any setup. No Malphite ults, no Flash, no Rel is the biggest one, and it's just free for the side of GENG. Like, yeah, maybe Lucid could have tried to flip it, but that's really risky. And so it's just GENG. They get one pick into a Baron. And once again, as you mentioned, just a bit of an overextension here from DK in mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, look, Aiming is the target. He has a really nice flash here after the stun, and the sleep will heal for him. Lucid's actually had some really nice sleeps in these retreating fights, and they're also able to ult to the Blast Cone, get both Aiming and Kingin out. But without the Rel, that's Baron, because like you said, there's no engage. There's no real vision there. Lucid can't get in there. He doesn't have ult anymore. And I mean, D+, it's just without that mid-turret, they feel priced into forcing it, because without it, they can't play the game. They can't play the vision war. But now they have Baron against them, so guess what? I don't think you're ever getting it back. And maybe your prediction about not going to Soul could come true if GENG win one more decisive fight. I mean, the push power they had in the early mid-game, and then the 5 grubs coming through was definitely strong. You add Baron on top of that, and these turrets are just not long for this world.
Yeah, I feel like a big theme in what we've been saying throughout this game has been a lot about control, and it felt like a couple of fights where GENG were kind of a little bit wishy-washy. DK found some angles, but the second that they kind of clamped down, got a little bit cleaner, DK just feels like they don't really have an angle. And it's not a huge amount of action. It's not any crazy, you know, back and forth ace big team fights, but it's still GENG with a very solid lead.
If it didn't work the first 3 times, teleport mid, maybe get that mid turret.
There is a Baron buff on the side of GENG. That'll make things pretty difficult.
Yeah, they're just trying to clear this wave and try to contest the dragon, but I mean, Chovy's playing Tristana, so he could solo that. He doesn't care. He will have some teammates come over now, but even if they needed to come defend the turret, he would just be able to sit over here, take this one down. Doesn't have teleport, but there's just nothing that D+ could do to punish because Baron buff is up. Takes way more resources for them to clear said mid-wave than it does for GENG to keep pushing it and maintain that prio. So the teleport ends up being a big whiff here for Kingen. Doesn't get anything done with it. They've slowed this Baron. It's sub 2,000 on the power play right now, but I think a lot of that's because they killed so many of the turrets earlier, to be honest with you, Valdez.
I love the zoom in here on the mid-tier 1. I'm sure on the Korean side they're also talking about this. FaZe has just stood here the entire game.
And you look at the ward, the vision score here for Lehens. He's at the top, hits 100 right now. It's the vision that I think the Korean casters are talking about as well that D+ doesn't have and hasn't had this whole game, and that's why they're like, keep fighting for that mid turret. At least this time they don't get punished, they don't commit, but they don't get the dragon either. And this Kasate is already stacked 2. It's tank Maokai.
Yeah.
They are on par right now. I mean, they're looking like if this game doesn't end in the next 4 minutes, that the soul is going to be theirs, because what can D+ do to try to set up a fight here? It's not like Moham has teleport, you know? He can't be where he wants to be without vision.
Yeah. It's also really fun to watch GENG that even from this lead, they're showing an immense amount of respect. I mean, they are going to throw in an ult here just to try to drop some siege damage in. I mean, take a look at the health bars. Lucid and Showmaker very low, but DK do clear the wave. So feels like GENG, they really wanted to get the turret. They're not going to get it then, but they're going to get it now. So, yeah, you stepped up, you cleared the wave, you stopped it for one wave, but you didn't stop it for the next one.
I mean, it's just so easy to commit ults and grab a turret. That's what Maokai does. Ziggs with Satchel, that's what he does, but he also ults them away so they can't have that magical, miracle, wombo combo. They're all half health, then you can't even look for it. You can't even play that game. And yeah, Ziggs ult is down, Maokai ult is down, but you don't need to peel when you have that much of a control over the turret and everyone's at half health, so you engage just a fool's errand as D+, sadly. IE is done for aiming, picked up a pickaxe as well, and he's very strong at this stage in the game if set up for success. But in 31 minutes of gameplay here, we have not once seen a combo from D+ because they have had literally no control whatsoever. Yeah. I said it like, what was it, 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago? I was like, well, we haven't seen the real combo yet. Wait for it, because this combo
we still haven't, Wolf.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen the combo.
Not happening. I just don't know if it is going to happen. It looks very unlikely because that, you know, 1,700 gold lead has now turned into a 5,400 gold lead.
Yeah. We've been talking about Maokai a lot in recent times. I really feel like that should have been bad on the red side. I think DK are going to have better luck from the blue side where they have Maokai pressure, right? Where they could potentially force the ban out. There's so many weird things in the mid lane that we even get the Nasus ban from the red side, really just clogging things up, and it really does feel like it's kind of weird. It's been a very safe game from GENG, but maybe Canyon is the POG if we had to choose. Like, he pressed ult.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he played Maokai.
I feel like it's between him and Lehens. And maybe Keen could get a shout out because he had some really fantastic ults and some good plays. Set up a lot of the stuff that happened in the top side.
It just feels so suffocating for DK to play into this. Like, they were just playing into BNK, and there was action abound. I mean, every game was insane. It was just never-ending back and forth team fights, and then GENG come in and they're like, all right, now quiet down. We're going to slowly win this game.
Yeah. Silent but deadly. I mean, like, the turrets just disappear into this comp, and 4 items for Chovy, including the scimitar he put together out of a QSS he hasn't needed. But it's a very strong item into D+'s comp because he knows the one way they lose the game is that chain CC. It happened to him once. King and flash ulted him, he got caught once. He's like, that will not happen again.
No more sleeps on me.
No more sleeps.
It's very defensive itemization as well from GENG. They have the comp to deal with the pressure, but now they also have the items to deal with it as well. You know, you talked about the Seraphs, and now he's going Banshees as well with the Verdant Barrier for the Ziggs, the Crypt Bloom to help out in team fights. Here comes Chovy jumping into the enemy team. Just a bait, I guess. Here comes a bunch of damage as Showmaker loses half his health from one ability from the Ziggs.
And then Lens just sends King into the nether. He's not able to turn this fight. He's back now. They're just going to back off and look for the Baron and force a fight on their terms when they have vision control here. Top side belongs to them. Showmaker's going to back here, TP back into the fight.
Yeah, somebody's got to face check this. There's not a lot of vision around it. Moham trying to get in. Canyon and Chovy just trying to two-man Baron, but they will respect, and they will back away for now.
This is the most risky GENG has played, I feel, this game right now, right here. But Keen is just blocking Moham's engage.
See Jonah Strong, he's like zooming in on every bomb because that's really what this game has turned into. It's like poke simulator for Pays, and Keen looking for angles while DK try to set up for some kind of wombo combo.
Yeah, they're so well split. Look at GENG's positioning. You can't hit multiple members with the Magnet Storm here. Moham is trying. He's fishing, man.
Yeah.
It's not his day. He might come home empty-handed.
I really feel bad for Moham. I don't even blame him at all. Like, he's trying so hard.
But look at the angle. They're all so well split. They're so respectful. And Chovy's just like, all right, now I've got enough prio to solo the dragon. Here we go again.
And DK, it looks like they don't really have pressure to go for a Baron, so they got to try to fight for this dragon. Chovy will respect it, will back away, but now team fight kind of brewing around the mid lane. Kingen getting a bit low. Keen trying to frontline. Here comes the Nature's Grasp, and now Kingen just so far away to three-man knockup, and now the Rel comes over the top, takes down one, and Keen is in the backline, but he might go down, but not before taking down aiming, and that is the main character on the side of DK. Showmaker still existing, but can he do enough damage alone? The answer is no, as Pays and Chovy, the two carries, charge through and finish off the team fight.
I feel like if the gold was a little bit closer, that might have been what gives D+ a huge tip of the scales, a huge win. But unfortunately, even with barely Kingen getting off that combo there with Moham, looked like he might not have been able to utilize it. Once he got caught in that route, he's still able to make it happen. There's just not enough follow-up. There's not enough damage, and there's just too many threats. If you watch how this plays out, look at where Keen is right now in this fight when the ult comes through. Kingen gets rooted, still wants to save his ult for the fight. Boom, triple here into the Magnet Storm. It's massive, but look who's alive. Look who's full health. The carries, and now all your engage is gone, and the enemy DPS is dead.
Yeah, the Ziggs bomb, I was looking at that actually, and Aiming's got a big BT shield. He seems pretty safe. Lines up a huge bullet time over the top of the Magnet Storm, and it just doesn't matter because he gets bombed to death.
Yep.
And then gets jumped on, all outed. Like, you know, he had his moments, and he played it really well alongside of Moham, but it just eventually did not matter. And that's a second Baron going over to the side of GENG alongside of the Mountain Soul, which happened after the end of that team fight. Obviously, GENG picked that up. And, well, now they've got even more shields.
Like, Banshee's Veil, Seraphs, GA, Shields, Mercurial Scimitar,
Maokai,
Mountain Soul, Cassante, Locket.
It's just,
good luck killing these guys.
It's just so unfun to play into.
No, you can't do anything. That was the one combo D+ got.
And it looks great.
Wasn't enough.
It was awesome. I thought maybe they had finally found their angle. It was maybe going to be the DK redemption arc in this game one. Instead, well, GENG got everything. Now we have a hugely deep TP, very far away from the team fight. He's going to have to run for about 17 minutes.
Let's see if he can catch one of these carries.
Well, he is going to find Chovy, who does try to buffer it and does fail, but guess what? Maokai pressed R, and nobody can join. Kingen's alone, and he is now dead. And the Ziggs bomb over the top gets a ton of damage down, and Keen also is just unkillable with this Mountain Soul. Looks like GENG, they play it carefully until they don't have to, and now they're looking to end the game.
That is going to be it. Some nice attempts from D+. That ain't AP Malphite. Chovy just shrugs it off. Doesn't care, I got caught, but you don't have a team.
Yeah.
You don't have a Nexus.
And they can barely even survive in the fountain at the end. GENG, silent but deadly, as you put it. Pays is going to get the focus in from production, and it is the Ziggs alongside of the Maokai. We said it in drafts. That can be so suffocating, and GENG from ahead, they're able to slowly but surely put an end to game one in their favor.
that's the kind of play that reminds me of some of the elite seasons of GENG we had in the past, 2021 GENG, 2022 GENG, where it's just slow, it's oppressive, it's not the most exciting game, but you're like, wow, look at the macro, look at how much vision control they have, look at how little this incredibly strong team comp that has a lot of synergy can do.
It's very Korean League of Legends.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's old school Korean League of Legends, because these days it's not always like this here in Korea. Sometimes we have some very aggressive dives. We have, you know, a focus on a single lane, destroy said player. This was just GENG destroying the turrets, destroying the map, and destroying all sight. Such a great game from them in this first one.
Yeah, very straightforward and very certainly going to be that first big win on the board for GENG. We'll see what happens in game 2, but first, guys, we'll take a quick break and have the space to break down that first one. We'll be right back.
야 뒤에 말파 뒤에 말파 뒤에 말파
말파 내가 막걸게 말파 내가
뒤에 말파
막걸게
뒤에 말파
아 이러면 미드 타고 갈게 거기 조심 조심
아 뒤에 말파 있다
미드 타고 갈게 미드 타고
야
말파 박았다 말파 박았다
야 말파부터 뒤에 빼 뒤에 빼
말파 말파 이거 이겼어 말파
나
위쪽
가면
볼게 위쪽 볼게
어?
나 공대거든 미포 노플인데
버텀 라인 쓰면 될듯